Hi folks, and thanks for joining me for this week's river tutorial. What you see in the vise is a rendition of a Mayfly Nymph. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hanak H925 barbless hook. This one's at size 8, and as you can see it's a long shank hook on a heavy wire. I've coupled that with a tungsten bead. It's gold at 3.3 millimeters. Okay, the thread I'm going to be using for this fly is the Veevus. It's 30 denier, the G02. And the first thing I've got to do is get a little tiny bit of super glue onto the shank just to stop body rotation, which can be a real problem with this pattern actually. So it's we're into mayfly season, believe it or not. I don't know why they call it mayfly, because I always find the best hatches are early June, early to the middle of June. It's a bit later than usual even this year that the mayfly are starting to make an appearance. I saw my first one at Albury Estate when I was still water fishing the other week, and it just reminded me that it will soon be prevalent on our rivers. So over the next few weeks I'm going to tie mayfly patterns, and I'm going to start with the nymph, then move on to the emerger, and eventually the dry fly. Now I know the nymph's not very sexy, but it is an essential part of the food chain, and it's always worth having a couple of mayfly nymphs in your box. Now they're not small, and that's hence the size of the hook. So I'm using pheasant tail for the tailing fibres, and I'm going to take some from the bottom of the stem. These are a lot less brittle than the main fibres at the top, and I want to get the length of the hook and then half it really, and that's going to be my tailing fibres. Now I don't like using pheasant tail as tailing fibres because I find that it's very brittle, and after you get a few fish it does snap off quite a bit, and then you end up losing your tail. It doesn't seem to make any difference to the pattern's ability to go on catching, but they don't call it Duffer's Fortnight for nothing. The fish are absolutely going mental for the mayflies. Nymphs, emergers, dries, it doesn't matter. They are stuffing their faces. It's like Christmas to trout, the mayfly season. So, sorry, I've been wittering on there and forgot to mention that I've just tied in my rib. I'm using a Veniards copper wire, and this is at 0.125 millimeters. And the body dubbing I'm going to use is CDC dubbing from hens. Now I like this because it resembles the darker sort of mayflies that I've seen hatching recently, and you should obviously tie these patterns to suit the kind of hatches you get on your local river. So we get a variety. We're very lucky living in the south. We get all kinds of mayfly. We get the nice creamy ones, the yellow ones. I don't know the scientific names, and I'm not going to pretend I do, but I can tell the difference between a brown one and a creamy one. So yeah, so I'm just going to bring that up the body, and as I get up near the thorax area I want to just build in a sort of cigar shape, if you like. I'm going to use the same material for my thorax, so I'm not overly worried about coming over into the thorax area with this, but I do want that shape, and that looks pretty decent. Okay, so I'll just move the bead up to the eye, and then I can come in quite open turns with my rib. They're about 1/8 of an inch apart, and it's just to really keep the CDC dubbing down and into place. You'll not really see it, but once you start fishing with this fly, a lot of these strands just sort of eke out, and it looks really good when it's wet. So just capture your wire in, a couple of turns in front, then you can twist that away. Next then, I want to add my thorax cover, and what I'm going to do is come further up the pheasant tail and just take about, and this just needs to be an average, half a dozen fibres. Pull it so that you've got the length, and what you want is the length of the body, no more. And then I can dress that onto my hook like so. Then I can come in and remove my waste. Now don't be too fussy about how many fibres you've taken, it's not that big a deal. But what we're going to do next is build our thorax up, and we're going to do that using our CDC dubbing. So I'm just getting it tightly packed on there. And I'm going to build it up. I might need to revisit the dubbing. I've not taken enough, but that's not a problem. Always easier to add than it is to take away. And then I can bring that to the front of the hook. Next then, I'm going to pull my thorax cover over the top and just get that trapped into place on top of the shank. A couple of turns just to be sure, and then a couple of turns in front. Now next, what I want to do is just split these fibres as evenly as you can get it. Again, the trout are not going to count them, so don't be overly worried. People get a bit pedantic about this. Remember, these flies are fooling a creature with the brain the size of a pea, so don't be worrying. They just see it as a food item and they want to eat. So once you've got it where you want it, and I want my legs to be sort of sitting just below to the side of the fly, and then one last piece of dubbing. And the job's a good one. That's looking not too bad. Not my best work, I've got to say, but it's not too bad. It's still go in the box. To finish off then, I'd just like to add a little bit of super glue to my thread, just up near the top, and then I can come in with my whip finish tool and get that finished up. And there's no need to go in with glue again because we've already trimmed that up. So there we go. It's a big old nymph, but the naturals are fairly big. An easy fly to tie. It's the CDC dubbing really makes this fly for me. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it. And if you are finding value with my videos, please don't forget to subscribe. See you all again next time.